This episode is sponsored by Optify. Optify is a taskbar applet for Windows and Mac OS that helps you keep track of your device's Wi Fi and network connection information. With Optify, you can easily monitor crucial details like channel widths, signal strength, access point manufacturers, and more, all from a small window that sits conveniently in your taskbar. Plus, with live remote monitoring, you can even share data with remote users and get real time analysis. Just create an account at app.optify.com to access customized presets and take your network monitoring to the next level. Download a free trial at optify.com.
Hi, guys. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Clear to Sun podcast. I'm here with Roel this morning. Hey, Roel, how are you?
Hello, good morning.
It's been a while. It's been a while. We recorded together. We've been both busy with work and stuff, but we wanted to kind of record a couple of episodes for you guys today, and in this one we're gonna kind of ride the trend of the Chat GPT discussion that you see all over the internet,
Yeah.
and we wanted to kind of discuss how we've been using ChatGPT for work and kind of share what has been working properly, what is hasn't been really working for us as Wi-Fi engineers, and try to see is ChatGPT useful for us? Is it going to replace the Wi-Fi engineer, right?
Yeah, I guess with how busy we've been, maybe
Yeah.
Chat GPT can be that either assistant or someone that could do work
Hmm.
for you and save you some time. Because we both have been trying to implement it with our
Hmm.
workflow, and I think there are some use cases there that could be beneficial for a lot of us, especially when it
Hmm.
comes to research and writing emails, maybe even writing reports. Who knows like
Hmm.
what it could be, right? So, looking forward to what your experience is like, Francois.
Yeah, and I actually will talk about the different tools that we've been using, but I also have a couple of extensions that I use in Chrome that are pretty nice because since ChatGPT came around, I think it was late last year, a whole bunch of other programmers built some tools that use the API, and you can do a whole bunch of stuff now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the full ecosystem, but I do try to stay educated on it to kind of try different things. So, I guess I'll share what I've been using, what worked for me, what was
Yeah.
useful, and
Yeah,
uh,
and if you
and
maybe we should also define what Chat GPT is
sure.
for those who just happen to not know what it is at all.
Yeah,
And
you want me to do that?
yeah, go ahead.
Um, sure. So there's this company called OpenAI that's been working for a few years on some artificial intelligence algorithm. And they came out last year with this chat interface. It's pretty much a website, and you can create an account for free on the OpenAI website, and then you can get access to that chat interface. And it's called ChatGPT. And then what it is, it's just an AI that can analyze your questions and tries to give you answers. Um, but it's a little bit more than just the Siri or Alexa that we've been using, because it actually gives you like a well structured and in depth answer. And plus, once you get your answer, it's not done. You can keep on talking to the AI, and there's like a context attached to it. So if you're not happy with the answer, you can challenge it, or you can ask it to rephrase it, or you can. Yeah, I'll show you a couple of examples that I've done, so you understand. But it's pretty much an advanced, chat interface. Um, and it became really really popular because it's actually pretty useful, when you're searching for some information. So it's not perfect, it has some limitation and stuff, but that's kind of like the premise of what ChatGPT is. And then since then, OpenAI, they came out with different versions, right? They have an API that you can pay into it if you want to use it and build your own tools, your own chat tools. And then they came up with you know the version 4, I think, of the ChatGPT chat, which is more powerful, gets access to more data, um, and more intelligence. So I guess they're kind of building on top of it, and then now we have the momentum going. So a whole bunch of applications are building into the ecosystem, and you can find a lot of application now that kind of tap into the OpenAI API and use similar functionalities.
And if you want to give it a try, you can go to chat.openai.com and just start using it for, ask any questions, and we'll kind of dive into some of the things we've used it for as some examples for you as well.
hmm I thought you were gonna give a code for a second. If you enter a CTS 50, you get 50% off.
you get,
Uh,
you get better AI.
you get better AI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
while you were doing it, I'll give you one example, right? So let's say I'm just some IT manager and I need to upgrade my Wi-Fi. I just
hmm
punched in, I typed in, what are some recommended enterprise Wi-Fi systems, and it full on gave me 5 recommendations and why you should look at them. And
hmm
it's a really good summary. And I didn't have to go and Google every single, look at all the search results and look at each one, try to read through all those websites. It just kind of gives me a nice, concise summary.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's very important to know about ChatGPT is that it doesn't have access to internet by
Yep.
default. So if you ask him, who won the game last night, it's going to tell you, I don't know, because it doesn't have access to internet. And I think the database they have is up to 2021. Maybe that changed, but I think that used to be like the case when they launched. So if you're asking a question of, what's the latest Wi-Fi technology to use, maybe you're going to get a dated answer from ChatGPT. So anything that's time related is not necessarily, the best use case for ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Um, Even though I found a Chrome extension that you can install on your browser, and it adds internet access to ChatGPT. So you can check a checkbox, and you can, okay, I'm giving access I'm giving ChatGPT access to the internet, and then when you ask a question, it's gonna do a couple of search, and it's gonna summarize the result of this search using
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So it's very
Yeah.
similar to, let's say you find something online, a large article, you can just
hmm
copy and paste that into GPT as well, and you can tell it to summarize it, give you some bullet points, and
Yes.
it sounds very much like that, right? Where it just kind of
Yeah.
adds that information for you on the Chat GPT website. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And when you use that feature, it actually tells you, the sources. So it tells you, this is where I got the information from.
okay, all right. So why don't we talk about then what's been really useful for you, Francois?
Yeah, sure. So one thing else also I should mention is, um, for work, you and I both work with a tool called Notion, and we use Notion to do all of our project tracking, planning, and then I also use it for everything that's documentation, reporting, and stuff like this. Um, so I would say that, and Notion has something called Notion AI. And so I'm not sure if Notion AI uses ChatGPT or the GPT, AI engine, but I think they might be using it in the backend. But they have something that's very, very similar to ChatGPT, where you can do a whole bunch of things directly in Notion with the AI. And one of the tool that I've been using a lot is, when I write things, when I write reports, when I write documents, is the spelling um, checker and the improve writing. So for me, it's very useful because English is not my primary language. So now I can write without paying too much attention, and then I check the spelling, and then I improve the writing, and it gives me a perfect English sentence. That I would have never thought about, and it's very useful for me. That feature is like, it's huge. I don't even have to think about it. I just do it, and pam, 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 in 2 seconds it does it for me. um, so in terms of just not really Wi-Fi skills, but in terms of general skills, the ChatGPT is very good at fixing spelling mistakes, understanding your writing, translating it. So if you need to translate things in different languages, I know, Roel, it's not usually what you do, but for me it's useful. Again, if I do French to English or English to French, and then improve the writing. Improve the writing is nice, and what you can do is you can also give it instructions. So you could say, can you make it sound funny, or can you make it sound professional, can you make it sound scientific, technical, and then you can kind of use that to rephrase something you wanted to say. And you could also use that for use it for reporting and stuff, but you could also use it for emails. If you're emailing someone, then you could say, can you make it sound XYZ? And usually they're very good at that. It's like the tool was built to do these type of features.
Yeah, for
um
sure. Because I just translated the benefits of Wi-Fi 6E to French, so now I have it all in French.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't say it, but I could send it as an email to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then now I
So
sound very
yeah.
French. So there you go.
Yeah, so for anything that's like this, it's very very good. In terms of more technical, topics, I found that ChatGPT was very good at programming. So
Yes, yeah.
to me, it's not surprising because it's been built by programmers, right? So they kind of
Yeah,
building the tool they want to help them. But if you do any scripting, or if you really work with the APIs, to interact with the Wi-Fi system, if you do Python, anything like this, you know, you can ask ChatGPT a lot of things, and it will give you the answers that you need. Um, so a couple of things that I do sometimes is, I used to ask questions about programming on Google. I used to say, how do you um, I had an example here, and I said, how you do merge two lists in Python? I don't remember how to do it.
yeah.
Used to Google it, and then you end up on Stack Overflow, the website, and then you read through the threads, and then you find the answer, and it works. Now I go to ChatGPT and I ask how to merge list. It gives me the code, and then I can copy the code from ChatGPT, and I usually have like a draft document that I keep when I code, and I put the answers in the draft document, and then I can go back in my code, and it's much faster. So in order to create code, it's much faster. You could also ask ChatGPT to create like entire functions. Can you create a functions that will rename this, that will find a piece of text in a more complex text? You can ask ChatGPT to create a regex per patterns for you. It's very good at all of this. um, Also, if you're doing programming and you're not too sure, let's say you're a beginner programmer, you can also use ChatGPT to improve your code. So you can just write a function, you put it in ChatGPT, and you ask it, can you improve it? And then it will improve it, but it will also teach you different concepts that you may not know about. So we'll tell you, what, you've done it that way, maybe you should do it that way, and then this is what it does, and it can details. And so you can actually use ChatGPT to learn more about programming on a very specific code that you've written yourself. So it's way more practical than just reading a book about programming. So that could be a good use cases, I guess, for the programming stuff.
Yeah, I think programming is a really big use case because the examples it provides you are very useful, and you can start copying and pasting and try to implement it
Hmm.
yourself. And for me, like converting things from a list to a dictionary, or if I take a list and I want
Hmm.
to add stuff to a dictionary, it can give you that example code where you don't have to be stuck in a trying to figure it out, like you said, trying to do a Google search and then trying to find some forum that might not have the right answer, or it's not
Hmm.
quite what you're looking for. ChatGPT can get you there a little bit sooner and be a
Hmm.
little bit more accurate because it is conversational. So you can start asking, adding things, saying like, "No, I don't want it this way. Try doing it this way," and it'll try to do it for you. And so I
Yeah,
think saving that time when it comes to doing a lot of research really, really helps. We'll be right back to the show. This episode is sponsored by Optify. Optify is a taskbar applet for Windows and Mac OS that tracks and displays all of your devices' Wi Fi and network connection information. The applet consists of a small window that appears in the bottom right corner of the screen. The Home tab will show you the name of your current Wi Fi network, what channel widths it's operating on, and the access point's manufacturer. To the right of this is your current signal strength, followed by a copy button, which will copy all of that information in the top bar. And now the latest version of Optify Agent supports live remote monitoring. Click on the share icon in the bottom right. From there, you can choose between sharing via a share ID or a randomly generated URL. Then press the play button to start sharing data. Send the URL to a remote user and have them open it in a browser of their choice. Now, the remote technician can view all of this network data in real time. By creating an account and signing in online at app.optify.com, you can create customized preset tabs to display different sets of information for analysis.
Yeah, and so going back on that example, Royal, I was writing some code the other day and I needed to get a list of all of the Wi-Fi channels frequencies, right? So I could go online and search for them and then, and build my list myself. But, we have a lot of Wi-Fi channels now, so it's going to take a few minutes. So you can just ask ChatGPT, can you just build a Python list of all Wi-Fi channel center frequencies? And boom, in 10 seconds, it gives it to you and you can just copy paste. And then, I needed to get also the channel number alongside the frequency, the center frequency. So I just asked a follow-up question. Can you make it a dictionary referencing the channel numbers? I'm not even sure if my instructions was correct. I wasn't sure actually. And it did it for me. It gave me a Python dictionary where I would reference, the channel number and the center frequency. So these type of things, I mean, it's amazing. It saves a lot of time, and you can even if you do some programming and you need to test it against some data, you can ask ChatGPT to generate that data. Can you create a list of XYZ? Boom, random. Can you add 10 more? And it will kind of give you exactly what you need. So it's been very useful on top of debugging, right? Because debugging is never fun when you have an issue you're not too sure. Now what I do is I put my code in ChatGPT and I put my error message and I wait and see. Sometimes it doesn't go anywhere. It just tells me exactly what the message is telling me. So you're like, okay, thank you for your help.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Then
sometimes,
again, the
sometimes,
limitations to ChatGPT, right?
yeah, yeah, the limitation. But sometimes, it tells you, what, in your code you did this, you should have done this, and then you change it, and boom, it works. So debugging has been hit or miss, but it's been useful sometimes
Yeah.
for the
So
programming.
you're using it a lot for some technical work. For
Yeah.
me, I'm using it for conversations with like clients and managers. So what I'll do is I'll write, for example, an email, and
Hmm.
I'll take my email and I'll put it in Chat GPT and I'll say, "Can you rewrite this for managers?" And it'll actually
Hmm.
change the conversation and make it sound a little bit more professional for managers. And you could even say, "Hey, summarize it more into 6 sentences rather than this really
Hmm.
long one that I have." And it'll do that. And so I'll reread it. I'll actually read it out loud because sometimes you need to say it out loud to really see if it makes sense that way, the way that
Hmm.
Chat GPT is doing it. But I found that writing conversations for clients and writing emails that I need to schedule out is actually useful using Chat GPT because it makes it easier and more efficient that way. As long as you already have your content, that you need to write, you can have Chat GPT write that for you. But I like to make it a little bit more personalized and just have Chat GPT kind of fine tune what I've written. And like you said, usually
Hmm.
it's down to language, grammar, or spelling that needs to be corrected.
Hmm. Yeah, and I've used ChatGPT in that fashion, the Notion AI stuff, to write like blog post. Right, I had in Notion they have everything is organized in pages, and I had a page with the list of all of the tools we use for an API on a Stick survey. So I just asked Notion, can you create a blog post from this page? And it did it for me. So it's only text, there's no picture, so it's not perfect, you know, but at least you can reread like you said, reread everything. You can add or adjust a couple of things, but for the most part, it kind of creates a structure for you, and it saves you a lot of time.
Yeah,
So that, yeah, for all of that writing stuff, it's useful. Also, sometimes I use it to check, like do spelling checks as well on an email. That works pretty well.
yeah. The other way I use ChatGPT a lot is for research purposes, and I kind of mentioned this in the beginning, but
Hmm.
I'll take a lot of text. Like if I'm trying to do some research on something, either you ask ChatGPT directly, or for example, if I have a bunch of articles that I've saved up that I want to read, I'll actually just copy and paste the whole article, drop it in a chat GPT and say, hey, can you summarize this for me in 5 bullet points? And it'll give me all the bullet points rather than me needing to read all the text. And I do that
Hmm.
occasionally because of I get all these tabs on my browser, and I'm like, I need to clear these tabs. Like, why do I even have this open? Why don't I just get the bullet points and then close it? And so I do that a lot. So that's what I use
Yeah.
Chat GPT for most often is usually trying to read something much quickly and get the information I really want out of it more quickly.
Yeah, for the research part of it, I found that, it's hit or miss, because one thing with ChatGPT is it has a lot of confidence. So when it gives you an answer, you know it sounds like it's true all the time, but sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes it's not true, but when you read it and you don't know anything about the topic, you're going to think it's true because it just tells it to you with so much confidence. It's like, yeah, sure, I can tell you, and this is what you can do, and it gives you different options. But sometimes when you do research, and I guess a little bit more advanced research on Wi-Fi topics, and you kind of know it, but you're not too sure. Then you'll see that sometimes the information that ChatGPT is giving you is it's just not true. It's just not going to appear that way, though. So you kind of have to be mindful, and you kind of have to know also a little bit about what you're looking for, especially if it's highly technical related to your job. Because if you don't, then you could just take for granted what ChatGPT is telling you. It looks true. It appears to be true, but it's actually not. And I can give you an example. I was doing some packet analysis over the weekend, and I was looking for Wireshark, filters to filter um, BSS transitions frame, like 8 to the 11V frames. And I asked him, okay, what type of frames are involved into the BSS transitions with 8 to the 11V? And then he gave me some stuff. And then I was like, okay, how do I filter them in Wireshark? And he gave me filters that had nothing to do with it. But he told me, yeah, you can totally use this filter for that type of frames and this filter for that type of frames. And it appeared to be true. But when you go deeper, you're like, no, that's not what it is. So sometimes when you do research, you can have to be mindful about this. And also, like, you cannot really check the source. You cannot just tell me, ask, okay, what's your source for this information? It's like, it doesn't really tell you. So there's no way to really double check against except going on Google and trying to do it the old fashioned way, which defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
you
so
just have
it's
to try to it's hard, right? Because it's still early on using these tools. And
Mhm.
since Chat GPT came out, a whole bunch of other AI tools started coming out. And I think they're useful tools, but it's a matter of knowing if you should trust the data, right? There are certain things where certain phrases that maybe the information
Mhm.
might not be correct, and so you do need to verify it somehow. So I wouldn't just take whatever Chat GPT gives you and then just use that as your source of
Mhm.
truth. It
Mhm.
depends on the topic, what you're trying to do, and I guess generally, like when we're looking at researching certain things, we can kind of tell if this seems right or not, and then maybe you need to dig
Mhm.
into it a bit further.
Yeah, sometimes I use it if I know something but I don't remember the full details. Then I'll ask ChatGPT, and I'll know right away if it's giving me BS or the right information, right? Um, but I was doing a test this morning just to play with it, and then I was asking, "Can you give me a list of the Wi-Fi channels that requires TFSUs in Canada?" And it gives it to me, but it doesn't give me the list of all channels. Just it tells me
Yeah,
from channel X
yeah,
to channel X, and then I'm like, "Okay, what about the US?" And same thing from channel X to channel X, and I'm like, "Can you detail all the channels?" And he's like, sure, but it doesn't do it. It just tells me from the same answer. So, you know, sometimes, and then it gives me contradict information as well. So sometimes it's like, okay, it's weird, the result that you get. Um, but I guess I can share one result that was very useful for me. I was doing, you know about the MCS index website, right? With all the data
yeah.
rates. So I was starting to work on the Wi-Fi 7 data rates, um, and I was looking at the subcarriers, the OFDM subcarriers, and the weight change with AX, and in the standards I couldn't really find the information I was looking for, because it's like 3,800 pages. So I asked ChatGPT to give me the pilot, where the pilot subcarriers are used on 8 to the 11 AX channel, and he gave it to me. It told me, okay, these are the numbers, um, uh, the eight pilots number, and gave it to me, and it was the right one. So it was actually useful there because it just gave me the results in 2 minutes, and I didn't
Yep,
have to go and dig it in the
yep.
standards. So
Yeah,
that
because
worked.
we have to remember it has to get this information somewhere, right? So
Hmm.
it is possible for it to get the wrong information, which is why sometimes we need to verify that information that it gives to us. But
Hmm.
most of the time, it's been pretty useful, right? For me, I'm not asking it deep technical questions. I think I'll
Hmm.
try to get a summary to try to get a short answer to it, but most of the time I'm writing, having it write things for me, and then doing quick research notes, like maybe you can do a summary on Wi-Fi 7 using ChatGPT, and that would be so. I think asking it very deep, like very very technical details, it can be questionable sometimes, right? Because it's a matter of where it found that information, and I don't even
Hmm.
know how Chat GPT knows if it's correct. Like, where is it trying to verify this information?
Yeah, when you challenge it as well, sometimes it will tell you whatever you want to hear, right? So if you tell ChatGPT, no, you're wrong, ChatGPT will be like, okay, if you're telling me I'm wrong, I must be
Yeah.
wrong, and then it will give you a different answer.
Yeah, it'll
um
try to correct itself, and you can try to correct it as well,
yeah.
and try to give it a better answer. And so there's even that part to it, which is, um, I don't know how many bad actors are trying to give it false information in order to
Hmm.
give other people false information.
So to kind of conclude on that, I posted a poll on LinkedIn, and I asked people, have you used ChatGPT or similar tools for Wi-Fi engineering? If so, please share your experience. So the answer were yes, it has been useful, yes, but it has not been useful, and no. So I can tell you that out of 77 votes, 47% said no. So a lot of people haven't used it for Wi-Fi engineering.
Okay.
And then out of the rest, 44 sorry, 44% said yes, it has been useful, and 9% said yes, but it has not been useful.
Okay.
So
Interesting. So I
yeah.
guess that's a our poll to you guys. Let us know if
Yeah.
you are using ChatGPT. What are you using it for, and is it working? Is it enough
Mm.
for Wi-Fi? Does it know enough about Wi-Fi? Can it get a CWNE? I don't know. Is it that
Yeah.
good, or is it something much lower than a CWNE? Like, what level do you think it's at in terms of the
Well,
certifications?
Well, I asked it, do you know what Wi-Fi stands for? And he told me wireless fidelity. So I'm not sure if it's in the.
It's
Anyway,
trying, Francois. It's trying.
yeah. So two things I wanted to share before we close is two Chrome extensions that I've been using.
Okay.
Um, One is it's called what's the name of it? Google search for ChatGPT. So when you install that extension, and we'll put the link in the show notes, but when you install that extension, it sends all of your Google search to ChatGPT. And so when you're in Google and you do a search, on the right panel you have like a ChatGPT answer. So if you do a search in Google, it will show you your Google research results, and then on the right it will show you the ChatGPT results. So sometimes it's very
Oh,
useful to have
okay.
both. Yeah.
Interesting.
um,
Okay.
so that's the first one. Second one is the one I talked about earlier, which is the um, access to internet to ChatGPT. So this one is it's called Web Chat GPT, ChatGPT with internet access. And then what it does, it adds like a checkbox on your ChatGPT page. And if you want to give it internet access for a specific request, you can enable it, and then it will give you a more time sensitive answer, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. And so we'll add those two links in the show notes. If you go to cleartosend.net/314, and you'll see the Chrome extensions there, as well as some examples that Francois provided with how he used ChatGPT for Wi-Fi engineers. That one is more specific to what the technical aspect of using ChatGPT and how useful it could be. And I think you'll find some of these as kind of a starting point for using ChatGPT and how you can extend that into your day to day workflow. And I think a lot
Mhm.
of this would be useful for us and would make things a lot easier, streamline a lot of things. So, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will come up with something a lot more better than what we provided, and probably something a lot more useful. Uh, I think this is where we imagine AI going, and it's getting there, and it's
Mhm.
only going to get better. I think, and soon we'll be able to either do our jobs easily or have it do our jobs for us.
Not sure about that part, but yeah, at least it can definitely become like a, like a replacement of Google for some of the stuff
Yeah,
we do. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So we want to thank you guys for listening to this episode. Again, head over to the show notes, cleartosend.net/314, and you'll find everything there. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye.
This episode is sponsored by Optify. Optify is a taskbar applet for Windows and Mac OS that helps you keep track of your device's Wi Fi and network connection information. With Optify, you can easily monitor crucial details like channel widths, signal strength, access point manufacturers, and more, all from a small window that sits conveniently in your taskbar. Plus, with live remote monitoring, you can even share data with remote users and get real time analysis. Just create an account at app.optify.com to access customized presets and take your network monitoring to the next level. Download a free trial at optify.com.